Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Info Dump. I'm your host, Ashley Pugh. And today we're rewinding, I guess you could say, and we're going to delve into two critical aspects of entrepreneurship: effective communication about money and prices, as uncomfortable as that might be for some of us, and also the crucial topic of nurturing mental and emotional health, particularly for neurodivergent individuals. So we once again are honored to have Renee Hughes, a certified aromatherapist and esteemed business coach, with us. She's going to help us to unravel these important facets of business success. So, like I said, think back to a couple episodes ago. We left you with the question: why is it often so uncomfortable to discuss money and pricing? But not just that. Why is it so uncomfortable to talk about money and pricing in the realm of business, out of all things in business? Don't worry. Today, you will finally get that answer. We're going to uncover the reasons behind all of this ick and discomfort and those cringy feelings. And also, we're going to take a look at how individuals with diverse neurological profiles, like ourselves, can best support our mental and emotional well-being within this entrepreneurial journey. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee or tea, and come along with me as we start unraveling these essential topics.
People always think speaking is just speaking gigs or doing things like this, getting an interview, which we do teach about, but it's also sales conversations. This is where a lot of folks, especially people who are in the health and wellness field, but people in any industry will benefit from this. I just usually work with people in health and wellness. People are scared to death to talk about money.
Yes, I knew you were going to say that.
So hard.
But it's
For them
true.
to just say, this is my rate, this is my package, this is it. And then to give, when you do it in a way where people understand the benefit, they know exactly what's going to happen on the other side of that. It's a whole lot easier to say, this is the investment, So we're going to practice that until everybody is feeling a whole lot more calm and comfortable to invite people into their programs at the rate that they're supposed to.
They're supposed to, yeah, because it can be,
It's hard.
it can make you cringe.
It's so cringe. It's like,
And why do you think that's the case? Because I can identify with that. Why is it so uncomfortable for us to do that?
It's a mindset. We feel guilty about money. We feel guilt around making money. And, people like us who are raised with Christian values, right? We don't want, and rightly so, we don't want our lives to be focused on money. But here's the thing, even outside of that, there are people who have grown. It's all about how you grow up and what you're used to. People, think about what we see on television, things like that. Usually the wealthy person is not a very nice person in the movie or whatever it is that we're taking a look at. And look at the news. A lot of the wealthy people are not doing very great things. And the ones who are, what are they doing with their money? They're giving it away. Those are the people who we're like, now that's a good person. They're doing it for free. They're doing something pro bono. They're helping other people. That's what we want to be. So now when we say, oh, yes, you can get a package from me, but it's going to be $1,000, it's going to be $2,000, then we feel like, oh my gosh, I'm one of those people. And that's what it is. It's guilt about, we know we have to make money to survive.
Yeah.
But there's so many stories around it in our minds and our hearts. I'm being greedy. I'm getting too into work and all of that stuff. And it completely shuts down our ability to charge people because it's guilt. It's guilt.
Speaking of mindset, a lot of times, because you are a psychoaromatherapist, many times aromatherapy is associated with relaxation. But how can it actually impact a person's mood, their mindset, their business performance in a very tangible way?
Yeah. So really good question. So aromatherapy, yeah, people do think of it as, oh, it just smells good and it's nice and it's relaxing. But it's the way that it relaxes you and the systems of the body that it's affecting. So your central nervous system is affected by aroma. And not only that, but then there are chemicals within essential oils that will affect your brain, the amygdala, the part of your brain where desire is.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are hating your business and you're hating all the tasks and you're like, I can't do this, having that little bit of chemistry. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we think of chemistry as a bad thing, and we think of it as popping pills and things like that. But sometimes you need some chemicals in your body, and these are natural, but it's still chemistry. It's the reason
Still
that it
chemistry.
works. Everything is chemistry.
Right.
Periodic table, right? Everything is chemistry. So we need to get used to that. But it gives you the ability to settle down, to get motivated,
Mm-hmm.
to balance, to think clearer, to get rid of brain fog, to just really carve through the different emotions. So with our mood makeover method, we don't just hand people, bottles of oils and say, go feel better. You need a certain blend. You need to be using it a certain amount of times a day. We also use tapping in there. We use journaling, and some talk. I call it talk coaching because you can't call it therapy, but coaching that
Coaching.
I do along with that. And what it does is that whole process, it helps people to release negative thinking, those negative thought loops, the procrastination,
Yes.
all of those things are happening here.
Mm-hmm.
And with that process, it helps you to lay down the things that are swimming around in your head and swimming around. And it gives you outlets to be able to do that. And the aromatherapy just helps to facilitate all of that so that you can move through, clear up some of that brain fog, move through the procrastination, give yourself another step that you can do. And then not beat yourself up when the day wasn't
Right.
perfect, that you get done and being satisfied with that and being able to celebrate yourself and all those things. There's just a balancing that the essential oils helps with along with those other tools.
And everything that you mentioned, I
Mhm,
think will be beneficial for a lot of people that might be watching this because um, many of my listeners are neurodivergent, and we
mhm,
know that has to deal with the nervous system.
mhm,
And I personally, before I came down this journey of even finding out that I'm neurodivergent myself,
mhm.
I was taking some of your coaching. Like
I
I
remember.
Yes, and it was
Yes.
helpful, and I worked with the oils, and I was starting to go
Mhm.
down that path myself, and then what happened was I was, um, placed into I started going down this path of trying to find out what was going on with my kids,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
led to me finding out about their neurodivergence and hence my own, and that's why
Mhm.
I'm here now. So really, you helped me get to this
It's
point
part of the
of where
journey.
I am. It was part of it,
I
but
love it. Yeah, that was part of the early days of
it was
when
part of the
I
early
hadn't even
days.
developed Mood Makeover at that time, so there's so
Right,
much
that
more.
came
It's
a little
awesome.
that
Mhm.
came after.
Yeah.
So when it comes to neurodivergent people, how can aromatherapy particularly be beneficial for them? Because you mentioned several different things about
Mhm.
being able to focus, being able to change your mindset. One thing, and I don't m I'm a very transparent person, so I don't mind
Mhm.
saying this, but when I did take a deeper dive into my own mental health, my own neurodivergence, I found out that I have a form of OCD. I
Mm.
knew when
Mhm.
the psychologist was explaining it,
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh my goodness, yes, this makes sense. I've been dealing with this for years." It's not because when you think of OCD, a lot of times we think of the stereotype of washing your hands
Yes.
multiple times,
Locking and unlocking the door.
Yes, but that wasn't it. Mine was my thought pattern,
Yes.
thinking and marinating on things over and over and over again, the intrusive
Mm.
thoughts.
Yes. Mhm.
So when you said that, I was like, "Oh, yeah, that hits home."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what are some other specifics that aromatherapy can help with when it comes to neurodivergent people, whether they might have ADHD, whether they're autistic, or what have you? What are some
Yeah.
other things that could be
I
beneficial?
first want to say I think that there's so many of I resonate with that so much. I just have never been tested.
Hmm.
But I feel like there's so many of us who have the same thing. I just think that it's just the air that we breathe and this the part of life that we're in right now, the
Hmm.
system of things, the way things are. There's so many people are dealing with that. So to get back to the answer to your question, it there are a couple of things that, first of all, when I first start working with people, I find out as best I can, because I'm not a psychologist, but as best I can, how they work,
Mm-hmm.
how they learn, right? And I love working with people like you and like with Kiosha, because the two of you both kind of can help people with that and help them to know how best they work. And I love that, because that way, by the time they come to me, they have a clearer understanding of
Understanding.
that. And I can kind of take it, next steps with that. So for some people, where you would think they would need a stimulant, they actually need something to calm, and then vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Some that are very, very active, you would think, okay, so they need a calming oil. They actually may need a stimulant,
Right.
because what it is that sometimes there's just not a balancing in there. And that's
Yes.
so interesting. So it's finding out which one of those things that they need. Do we need a stimulant? Do we need something that's going to relax? And then finding out what's happening with that. Like, for example, with you with the intrusive thoughts, that's a big thing with aromatherapy and the process that I use is those loops. Like,
The
it's like
loops.
it just
It's the loops.
replays and replays, and you're sitting there hours later and you're still going through the same thing. And it's teaching a new way of, first of all, recognizing that you're doing it, which is so
Yes.
important. Like, because you can just be doing it and you just don't even realize. And so, when we start the process, we work with different blends to see what works best.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the first things I'll have people do is, and we also do a couple of different forms of deep breathing
The deep, right.
along with the oils. I want that chemistry in their system so that I can have something to work with. And then teaching them to just kind of close their eyes and catch those thoughts.
Okay.
What happened? Like, I know you didn't get anything done today, but what happened? I know that you got into a crying fit or anxious fit, but learning how to say what was happening here before that happened,
Mm-hmm.
learning how to catch those things and to change the conversations. Whereas normally you would have said the same thing to yourself over and over, or you would have said, I'll give you an example of another client who thinks that they had OCD, but that hadn't been diagnosed. But certain things they would have to happen before they could go do something
Do
else.
something else. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this has to happen. And so my coaching on that was like, you make it happen. So say for instance, it's like a certain pattern. I need this person to say this before I can, you can create a reality in your own mind.
Yes.
So having them close their eyes, we're breathing it in, and this is what's happened. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it's happened already. Like, you create the reality so that you can move on. For some people, it's not that specific. It's just that, oh, I can't sit down and take a look at my business until all the meals are made for the week,
Mm-hmm.
or until my laundry is done, or until, all those kinds of things. And so just working with that to give them a few minutes, because some people are really like, they'll go into an anxiety if like, I've got to do that laundry.
Yes. Yeah.
And so the work never gets done. And so changing those patterns little by little to say, okay, now I do have to do laundry. I'm going to do it, but give me 5 minutes, literally having this conversation with yourself. Give me 5 minutes to kind of rebalance here. So doing the breath work, doing the
Mm-hmm.
conversation, the internal conversation, imagining doing the laundry, maybe going do one piece of it, maybe bringing the laundry basket next to your computer, different things that you can do that will allow you to move past those old habits, or those habits that you feel like you can't break.
Right. Good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Very good.
Mhm.
I want to ask you this. Could you explain some key principles or go into a little more detail about key principles or techniques of aromatherapy that entrepreneurs or business owners could easily incorporate into their daily routines for better focus and whatnot? Because you just gave us
Mhm.
some tips on how we can
Yeah.
help with some of those thoughts, or some of us that get stuck with the patterns, our thought patterns, and
Mhm.
having to have certain uh, processes take place before we proceed? What are some other techniques that might be helpful for business owners?
Okay, so I like to make inhalers. You can have your diffuser going at your workplace. You can have an inhaler that you can use at any moment.
I have
So
used
say
those. Yep.
yeah, I love these. So say for instance, I'm big on schedule. Even though it's hard for people, like for me, I don't know how to explain. I can't have a step by step schedule.
hmm
I can't do like from 8 to 8:30. You're going to do something, that kind of
It
thing.
can't be
Even
too
though
detailed or
it can
too
be too
strict.
detailed, right?
Right. I am the same way.
So
Go
I'm
ahead.
that way, but I need to have it like the morning portion. For example, my morning portion in my calendar, it says the more important things. That means from 5
I like
a.m. to
that.
9 a.m., I'm doing Bible study, I'm doing exercise, I have like 5 or 6 different things in there
Okay.
that need to be done, but I just put all of them in through those hours and it gives me some space.
hmm
One of those things is getting some aromatherapy in my system.
Okay.
So doing some breath work and things like that. So it's kind of prepping yourself and giving yourself a space of time to work on it even before you get anxious
hmm
or before you get that resistance to sit down to work or whatever, is to get those in your system. So kind of, hydrating, making sure you're eating well, things like that, and then get the oils in your system. It'll help you later on. For some, like they'll grab it like when they're going to take the kids to school or whatever, that pre thing that they would do before they are to sit down.
Okay.
Because for some, the as much as they want a business, sitting down to do it induces anxiety and overwhelm
Yes.
because they don't know where to start and all these things. So if you can make this part of your habit before that time, do make a schedule. I think that's important, but it's up to you how detailed it is. But at least have that space of time where I know Mondays, sometime between 10 and 1, I need to at least get these particular things done. And so you just want to have those oils before you start to do the activity.
Okay. Excellent
Mm,
tips. I agree because
yeah.
once it starts,
Yeah.
it's much harder to get out of that.
It's hard to
That
get
loop.
out of
Yeah,
that
it's
thing.
hard to get out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
The other thing I would say too, I'm just going to drop this in here
No,
for
no,
our
go ahead.
mastery clients. We have them make a schedule when they first come in,
hmm
and we have them include sick days. So it's just like your back in the day when you had your 9 to 5, you had personal days, you had sick days,
hmm
you had vacation days. So we have them add all of those things into their schedule because there are going to be days, depending on our mental health or our physical health, there
Right.
are going to be days when I can't work today. It's not happening today. And we need to have those built-in days where that's okay.
Right.
Because if we feel like we failed and we failed, oh, another day I didn't get it done. You know, we need to have those built-in sick days or personal days that we can just say, okay, no problem. That was one of my days. As we continue to work on ourselves to be able to, produce a little bit better.
And you know what? I think that is so important. It's really important for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But working with a coach that understands that it's not just a luxury to have those days.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not like you said, it's not just for when you're physically sick, but sometimes you need that mental health day
Yeah.
to work with someone who understands that it's more of a necessity.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very important because up until recently, it has been more the norm to push yourself, to push
Oh
yourself.
yeah, that hustle
The
mentality. Get it
hustle
done, get it done.
mentality, get it
Mm-hmm.
done no matter the cost, you're sick,
Mm-hmm.
nope, you push yourself, you push yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And especially for neurodivergent people, that can throw you off
Mm-hmm.
to a such a great degree. In fact, I know a lot of people, a lot of adults especially, have
Yeah.
been doing that the majority of their lives,
Mm-hmm.
masking or pushing themselves, but it's not
Yeah.
sustainable.
It's not
And then you get to the
sustainable.
point where you just have this whole big collapse.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are an entrepreneur, if you are a business owner, you can only imagine what that looks like when you push yourself so hard. You're trying to get all the things done, but then you get to the point where you can't do anything.
That's it.
You
And
can't do
it's
anything.
everything shuts down. And
Everything shuts
now
down.
instead of just taking a day, you're off for a week or
You're
two
off. Right.
because now you really are unwell, you
Yes.
know?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think it's so important to work with someone like you who
Mm.
understands that. Well, that will wrap up today's episode and this series on messaging in business. Until then, I look forward to connecting with you all in the next episode where we will continue to explore the exciting intersection of business and neurodiversity.